This is WEBurlesque.
Hi, this is Charlie Quinn Starling,
Hi, this is Pistol Holiday.
And I'm Twin Peaks from New Orleans.
Hi, this is Delightful, and you're listening to WeBurlesque Podcast Season 10.
Get right into it.
Did I miss anything?
Excellent. This is WeBurlesque, the podcast, and I am your host, Victor Devon. And through the miracle of fiber optics, I get to talk to nightlife individuals in the field of drag, burlesque, and cabaret. And today is no exception. I have Zara Estelle on the line. Hello, hello.
Hello. I'm so excited to
Hello.
be here today.
Glad to have you on. You're in the greater Atlanta area, yes?
Yes, I am in Atlanta.
There's been a bit of a shakeup. Should we get that out of the way and
Yeah, let's
break
go
break
ahead.
the
Just
news? Let's
get
break
into
the
the
news.
meat. Okay, so what I can say is in Atlanta, I have been very lucky to be a part of the community at Metropolitan Studios with the Atlanta School of Burlesque and the Candy Box Review. I've been able to be a manager of the studio, an instructor in the space, and a performer with other amazing, magical, sparkle people. And that ownership is under Rula Roulette. It was also Ursula Undress and Tallulah Love at one point in time, our founders. It's been like over a decade, and life shifts, things happen, people move, things grow, right? So, in order to give everyone the ability to do what they need in life, and still keeping the some of the I can't say spaces, but the grouping together with our education, Rula Roulette is sunsetting the Metropolitan Studios business and the other entities at the end of June. And excitingly, I will be opening my own entities that are going to be called Atlanta Creative Arts and Atlanta Burlesque Academy in the beginning of July. And we're going to be based out of the creator space, which is exactly what it sounds like, a place for creation. And we're really excited to be adding more dance spectrums as well as other types of arts, more crafting, more just trying to put all of the fringe communities together.
Hmm.
So
Is this your first real step into education, or had you done that before, where you've taught?
this will be my first step into owning and doing education, but I've been teaching dance since I was 15, which is over half of my life now. And I've been teaching burlesque for 13 years. This teaching and education has always been a passion of mine. I've been dancing and I've been in the arts my whole life. And my major was dance from elementary school through college. And in that, I never wanted to be the performer. I always wanted to be the educator and the choreographer.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
So yeah, it's hilarious that I'm a burlesque performer because honestly, it doesn't fill my cup. Education and building acts together and like seeing the transitions that happen is really where my cup fills up and my happiness comes. So I will be new to owning my own business, but not new to the education.
Right. So at 15, what types of dance were you instructing?
I taught ballet, jazz, modern, tap, hip hop. Those are what I was teaching at that point in time. And as I continued in my arts, I learned more that I could eventually teach out. But it stayed with those main core five, I would say. And then as I brought in burlesque, I found ways to continue to add my technique into the burlesque that I was teaching, whether it was adding a little bit of ballet burlesque or jazz technique or the contemporary lyricalism. So I really enjoy bringing that element to the cabaret style that burlesque has.
I've spoken to a great number of performers who started in dance classes and dance training as young as 2 years old,
Mhm.
sometimes. What I find really interesting is that sort of the days or the expectation that a child or a person would learn one discipline and just stick with that is sort of out of date, and that they really do also modern and jazz and hip hop and all these disciplines. Is there a reason, do you feel, that you learn one core element that can then be applied to each of these others?
Well, they like to say that ballet is the foundation of dance, which is technically a very racist term. We don't want to use that, but
I might need
ballet,
you to expand on that if you're comfortable with it.
I will. So, it's a little bit racist while we're talking about Black History Month,
Sure,
because ballet is not the first art form. It is not the
sure.
foundation of dance at its base. Dance is actually something that came out of a lot of religion and tribal, and
Try with me.
it has connections to a lot of other culture that
Hmm.
when we phrase it as just ballet, it's very Eurocentric.
Sure.
Um, and so
Sort
that
of
is
remove
why,
some of the spirituality of it too.
oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. And ballet kind of takes that away and
Hmm.
puts in just the technique and the lines. However, they teach ballet first for a lot of foundational because modern and jazz technique, which came after ballet,
These are air quotes, people,
have
air
the
quotes.
same core principles and the same positionings. And so you learn how to move your body in one way and then it translates to the others.
I see. Is there one that you felt most up-filled uh out of the others, or were you pretty ecumenical?
Um, as far as for me for dancing, contemporary dances where my like good spot is, because
Hmm.
it is a lot about feeling the movement and expressing it.
Hmm.
Um, and it's usually a lot gooier, and I like to be able to like just find that happy mid ground where it's like you're performing and you're out there, but at the same time you're like in tune with yourself and it's for you. I don't feel
Uh-huh.
that when I do like ballet necessarily. It's very like performance forward, trick, 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 technique, 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 and you're trying to be like so put together. I like that in contemporary, I can do a lot of like thrashing and throwing around and like weight shifting in ways that are more chaotic.
How versed in like the history of dance do you request your students or yourself to be? Like, do you stay with, I mean, we know Martha Graham, we know Duncan Cunningham. There's a few like names that come up a lot in um in the discussion of modern contemporary dance. How key do you feel it is to know those foundational people, figures within it?
I think it's definitely important. However, it's really hard to get in all of that in a like
Sure.
1 hour to 1 hour and 30-minute class. I feel like dance education history is its own separate like lecture based workshop that or people can do their own like research in history. But I think what is important that during the classes, I'll try to call out this is this technique and it's from this, or this is
Hmm.
this move and it was created by this person, or this is Graham technique here, this is Horton. And so they can pick those things up and do with them afterwards. But I know I don't have the time to I dance straight through my classes. We get in 1 minute later and I'm like, I'm punctual, we have to start. And that's my dance background that was ingrained in me. And so we're dancing, 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 dancing. And I actually have been watching some of the other instructors, and they do a lot of good lecture and movement together. And so I've been
Hmm.
trying to do my first class with a little bit of lecture and history before we like break into dancing, because I see the value in it, but I have so much dance technique that I want to get out.
Right.
So we're
Right.
constantly moving. However, I will say, at the school, we are very good with our burlesque history when we are teaching like our burlesque 101 or burlesque basics class, which starts with a tour of the space and our exhibits that we have from Burlesque Hall of Fame and BurlyCon that are about the start of burlesque and the history and neo burlesque. And the legends, we have a legend wall. And so getting into like the little stories and things. So people are learning the burlesque history at least, but I am
Mm.
definitely not going through and teaching them the history of classic dance right now. However, that might change because we're shifting to not just a burlesque space.
Right. So the creative arts element of it, I mean, that does sort of expand into, and we'll get into the more of the origin in just a minute of where you found burlesque personally. But since so much of your focus and your interest is in perpetuating is the wrong word, but continuing on the education and in bringing that towards people and facilitating um the re I guess the next generation. Gosh,
Yeah.
I hate to think of it, but as multi-generational as burlesque is, you do see pockets of eras, basically. You see, oh, well, that was when if you go back far enough, you can say, oh, that was very popular, the tiny hat era. Oh,
Oh,
that's when
yes.
everyone did backflips. Oh, that's when everybody had the Catherine Delish this exact style robe. And it's really funny because it's such a relatively new uh process of archiving that information. It's all within the
Mm.
last 20, 30 years
Yeah.
that we're doing that. Because even the past, where we talk about like the 50s and 60s, we have to reach for that because that wasn't archived in the most useful, productive, and helpful ways.
No.
And one thing that I've also talked about on the pod is as a living, breathing career, it's one of the last vestiges of entertainment where all of the calls are still coming from inside the house.
Hmm.
I use the word insular a lot. That's for you, Quinn Dixie, who listens to the pod and calls me out whenever I say the word insular. Because it's basically this is we're telling other burlesque people how we do things. There's no Reddit where it says this is what I would have done
Right.
for that challenge. Um, where do you feel the future of burlesque might lead to, and can it survive if it stays so insular?
Wow, that's a loaded question.
It's a gigantic, and I want you
I didn't
to
know we
answer
were
it in
having one that
three
big.
to
Say it
five
one more time
sentences.
for me.
Well, to be perfectly honest, I didn't know if I was going to ask that question, but I find that as someone who also has a very invested interest in furthering the burlesque world, and in your case, physically, where do you stand with that when it comes to looking at how privatized our world seems to be?
I feel like I might have a unique perspective because of where I am in the intersection of education and burlesque.
Yeah,
So because of that, it doesn't feel as insular to me. It is constantly us going out and expanding to more communities and more people so they have an idea of what's going on and then they're coming in. So
great.
we're want more new and fresh, and um I am very excited about building out more education that then leads to more performances for those people that are going through the education process rather than it being just a a final goal type thing.
Mm.
I feel that there's a lot of hunger in the young burlesque community. And when I say young, I don't mean age wise. I
No,
mean,
just starting
how
out,
long,
just starting out.
yeah, how long people have been doing things. And the hunger and desire that I see now in this era is so different than 10 years ago or when I came in, where it was very you YouTubed to figure out what you were gonna do. You were on your own a little bit, and like we were like scrappy and getting by. And like I gotta sorry, it's little to capitalism and fast fashion and Amazon, but in this era of that, it's making things a lot more accessible for people. And so my students are constantly pushing me to become better and better because I'm watching them do shit that I'm like, oh, I haven't tried that yet. Okay, that's a clever idea. Oh, that's really okay. We're gonna do classic burlesque for this semester. Okay, let me work on some classic burlesque for me too. So I really enjoy seeing and learning just from what the new people are like looking to pull in. It also is like it's fun to see the trends with the newer people because it'll be like
Mm.
certain times it'll be like we're gonna come in and everyone's gonna go for nerdlesque, or it'll be everyone's gonna try to do classic advance, or everyone's gonna try to do chair dance. And so it's cool to see like where they're trying to push things to as like trying to find their niche.
Mm.
um but as far as bringing in people outside of education, close that bubble and go into like performance, the insularness there. Um, I'm very lucky to have been in all troops most of my burlesque career. I've been in 3 burlesque troops. And I stay booked and busy because of that.
Yeah.
As an independent performer, not so much because I have the tism and I don't like to reach out and like ask for things to myself or like be like, where did I book? I will say that I noticed when I started, it was very you had to know who the fuck to talk to. You had to know who to reach out to. And I like that in this era, it is a little bit more like open casting calls. I'm looking for this,
Hmm.
audition, whatever. So I feel like that has definitely improved in connecting people throughout the community to try new things and get around.
Hmm.
Um, but it's still very difficult, I think. And I think there's still a lot of politics that goes into it as well.
Sure. Well, it's funny because we all have something. We are a crayon box full of neuroatypicality.
Mm-hmm.
And so a lot of us, when we're suddenly put in positions of power or put in positions of, I guess, visibility and uh, oh, I guess leadership, I
Mm-hmm.
guess it would really sort of be because we don't really have, I mean, yeah, we have title holders and we have, but even then we don't necessarily hold to quite the standard as you don't have to have been you don't have to be a leader to win a fabulous title. You have to sort of be active within the community and got to keep a little, I think. You got to keep people to task. You got to say, hey, by the way, we're also human beings. We're also meant to
Mm-hmm.
entertain people. This is not just a clubhouse. Um, we also have jobs to do. There's
Yes.
money there's money involved, there's ethics involved, there's all of these different things. And so working at an academy or working in an educational foundation does not necessarily breed career burlesque performers. Sometimes it's also for fun. Sometimes,
Yeah,
believe it or not, sometimes
the majority of it.
it's therapeutic, or
Yes.
it's just to see what can be.
Hmm.
So how many folks do you see in your time in burlesque during the academy, during the education, really look to say, you know what, this is something I want to do as a job versus something that's like, I want to get in tune with my body.
Um, I don't think I've heard anyone really call it a job
Uh-huh.
because, we're not making money. But I will say I have seen people be like, I want this to be the thing I do, right?
Sure,
I
sure.
want to move into performing.
Hmm.
And I will say that is probably, I want to say 40% of our students at some point. They don't usually start and they're like, this is what I want to do. But they start, they get a taste for it, they do the recital, and then they're like, oh, I can see where this can go. And
Let's do it again.
sometimes, yeah, sometimes they do go through the full program, which has a graduation at the end that they're working on their solo development for 12 weeks. And they're working on building a piece that's going to be like festival ready is the goal. Is like we're really polishing and making it your own thing. And I would say we have maybe like 2 or 3 people that do that once a semester, which isn't a lot, but that doesn't mean that there aren't people out there performing still. We're not
It's a
saying you
huge
can't,
turnaround.
yeah,
That's
we're
a
like,
huge
yeah,
turnaround.
we're not
Yeah.
saying you can't perform without graduating. We're just saying there's this opportunity.
Right.
So we have a good amount of students that are making costumes, getting out there, doing the thing, doing competitions, and are just excited about the artistic empowerment that they get from
Hmm.
it.
I mean, as someone, as a one lifer to another, when it comes to this, it seems like there are people who still seems to be that discussion of hobbyist. And that comes up a lot when it comes to accepting gigs that the more aware look down upon, whether it's because that person is a predator, whether it's because they have issues with paying people, there's some ethics concern. That's largely when a lot of people start ganging up on the newcomer who is
Mm-hmm.
who may or may not be doing that intentionally. I mean,
Yeah.
there are people who, I mean, they're adults. They have agency. They're making that decision. We could probably be nicer about it, but some of us are rough.
Yeah.
Some of us are really, really rough when it comes to letting people know. And what I find I struggle with, because as somebody who knows things and keeps aware and is certainly opinionated when it comes to the behavior of our scene and industry. Um, I think it's a lot to expect everyone to know every nook and cranny of what's going on in the burlesque world. I find that to be really true of our politics outside of burlesque, of our entertainment world. Like, oh, you didn't care when this person was such like I didn't know. And
Yeah.
maybe I'm not the same person I was 10 years ago. And maybe now I've said, you know what? Fuck them. I didn't I don't know, the impetus to grow, the nurturing, the community in that regard, we're really rough when it comes to finally catching up. We are.
Yeah. I feel like we could definitely give people more grace, especially
Mm,
in this current era of our world that is like burning around us. I know that there's some people that are stuck to their social media, and I know there's some people that are completely away from it, and each choice is absolutely okay.
mm,
But we can't be upset at each other for not knowing things if we're not trying to be obtuse, you know?
hmm
Um, but I do believe that we shouldn't delete things so we can continue learning from them.
mm,
Um, because I find that is the main thing when things come up online and it causes an uproar. if it stays, it can lead to more education and learning because some people weren't there for the first hour, et cetera, et cetera. I'm not saying add on and dogpile and we could close comments out, but yeah, that's the big thing for me when it comes to the internet and like saying things out loud. If you're
Well,
going
so
to say
much
it
of
out loud, I would leave it there.
well, this is another example because on the podcast, I mean, this is in theory forever. This is this is going online, and what's really fascinating is if you go back to season one, a lot of that conversation is moot because we talk about shows that don't exist anymore. We talk about relationships that don't. We talk about people who don't fuck with other people anymore, and they're talking about
Mhm.
them in glowing terms, which is really fascinating. And I see value in holding on to that because when I was a child, pop culture was really important to me and how I identified with the world. I didn't know really how to uh, exist within it without knowing, oh, this celebrity is doing this. Oh, this is doing this. And then I learned, oh, I'm replacing that with my Rocky Horror crowd, and now I'm replacing that with my burlesque crowd. And now I also try to be, socially conscious and aware and pay attention to what's going on the streets as well, and in Congress and things like that. Now that the brain allows for such. But I I don't know how much of it, because it's burlesque, is for burlesque people, as I said, the sort of the insularity of it all. How much of that really should be made public to the general populace,
Oh yeah,
the audience?
I definitely don't think that a lot of things should be public to the audience. And I feel like in this era, we're using our performer Facebooks as full people, which is like totally fine. I don't use my name, my regular Facebook anymore. I live on Zara, right? However, I'm not going to post all of my regular people things over to Zara. And I'm also going to like PR check myself.
Mm,
I also, once again, have to take it back to the candy box review. We have a code of conduct, and part of that is not being messy on the internet. And I think that knowing that that boundary is there has just made me able to move through the internet world easier lately because I see things and I go and move on. I
yeah,
don't need to say anything. I don't need to screenshot it. I don't need to put it in a message to someone privately. It's out there. It's going to be talked about. I don't need to deal with it. I don't have time for that. This world is fucked up right now.
yeah,
But everything is permanent on the
yeah.
internet, and that is the like major takeaway. So when you're like adding people that you're meeting out at shows that are audience members and things, and then all of a sudden they're on your Facebook and you're trying to sell tickets to them, and then they see drama, do they want to show up for that? Are you changing their opinion of what's going on? Like there's just a lot that the audience doesn't need to know. We're already creating this like magical facade for them.
Mm, mm.
Um, and I understand they're not paying for our Facebook. They're not paying for that show. We're not performing on our Facebooks, but like,
Some of us are performing on our Facebooks.
well, yes. Well, yes. But like there's a line
Yes, yes, yes.
that needs to be drawn. And I think that a good part of it is because in the beginning of my burlesque career, it did feel there was a performer Facebook and maybe even a performer like page, and you use those as your person and you were promoting, and that was for the people, that was for ticket
Mhm.
sales.
That was
we
mailing
ain't
list.
selling, we ain't selling no tickets on Facebook,
Oh,
honey. We ain't doing
mm,
shit anymore. And now we're talking to each other as friends, which is great. But I feel like some of this could happen maybe in some closed groups. Like I love the conversations that happen in the, I'm going to say this wrong probably, but the ecclesiastic, the crafting one.
Oh, Ecclesiast.
Yes. See, I
Yes.
told you I was going to say it wrong.
No, it's quite all right. You made it.
Um,
You made it sound so biblical.
but like there's a lot of good conversations that will go on in there. There's a Black burlesque group where people can talk to each other. I feel like there could be maybe more. I know there's regional burlesque. Maybe there could be like countrywide that we pull in, and that's where we say the things and not just like on our public page for everyone.
Hmm.
But also, I don't want to create more work for people. Like, we could just be nice,
We
but
could.
also
I
not
mean,
be nice because some things do need to be said. And
this
so
is
it's
it.
like, that's when I'm like, okay, we can have private conversations, but not everyone needs to have a singular private conversation with somebody. It could be a group conversation. So this goes to, I think, having a big private group would probably be better than airing all our grievances online.
Hey, this is Victor Devon. I know it's difficult to strategize how to spend money and where that money should be going, and I thank the folks who have found some way to support financially this podcast. Massive love to the people on patreon.com/WeBurlesque. Thank you very much to Courtney Jones, Dottie Rebel, Charlotte Strudel, Paris Stilton, Luna DeLay, Goosey Gander, Roxy Reverie, Faye Havoc, Tiffany Lane, Madam E, iRed, Shimmy LaRue, Curly Bright, Oliver Swisky, Sebastian Crane, Alex Collode, Bo Bridges, and Stormageddon. Love you very, 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 very much. If you would like to support the podcast, you can go to patreon.com/WeBurlesque, and I promise you those dollar bills go to servers, to advertising, to actual real costs, including WordPress, GoDaddy, and people who need my money. So thank you very, very much for help supporting the podcast, and thank you for amplifying the voices of those upon it. Love you very much. I mean, and lest anyone think that I somehow think I'm above it, I most certainly am not. I am a dyed-in-the-wool crisis hound, but I and I'm also perpetuating it now, aren't I? This is a burlesque podcast, and we're talking about the inner workings. Now, we're not getting specific per se,
No.
but we are acknowledging at this moment in a feed that technically is available for an audience. And you know, we're not the only ones, obviously. I mean, we've seen this on Twitter, we've seen this on Instagram Reels in other industries.
Mhm.
Certainly theater at large there's a reason it's dramatic. And I also I get why, because I feel that we are in a world that we don't feel control, and it this is our way of holding the reins of something that's very important to us because it is so insular, because it is just us. And so therefore we want to be like, no, 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 you're not allowed in, because we earned this treehouse and the rest of the world sucks, and we're not letting this treehouse turn into all that.
Mhm.
I get it. I absolutely get it. I don't think it's always likely to succeed in that regard, because I think actually we have an orchard full of tree houses.
Mhm.
Um, but it's cumbersome, and I don't have an answer for it, because it's none of us are going to agree on it. We don't have a code of conduct in burlesque. We don't have HR. We don't have any of these things.
No.
Um, a lot of us are sleeping with each other, not working with each other, not paying each other, giving each other tax IDs. We are involved in such a embedded role as real people, and we are, and maybe we should be, and maybe we shouldn't be, but uh, it certainly isn't boring. I will say that. If the
No, there's always something, but there's always something good too, which is why
oh
we stay.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Well, and I would like to think, I mean, yes, in addition to the people who are just being messy for messy's sake, sure, sure, sure. And we know who those we know we can tell, frankly, usually when that's occurring. Um, I think oftentimes impetus or the motivation is protection, is keeping keeping people in a good positive direction when it comes to whatever the hell we're doing in burlesque. But
I'm gonna cut you off right there. I will say,
oh please.
alternatively, though, there is some virtue signaling
Oh
that
yes.
happens as well. And I feel like sometimes we just go down that hole as a community, and then no progress is actually made because we're all just like saying the same thing in a circle jerk.
Well,
Um,
we've
and
exhausted ourselves by the end of it, so then we don't have
yeah,
time for restitution or redemption.
yeah.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I there's a lot of that as well.
Yeah. Well, let's go way, 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 way back to when
Okay.
you first heard the word burlesque.
Oh
You
yeah.
weren't necessarily filling your own cup, but you said that cup was there. When was that?
So I got into burlesque because I was teaching adult ballet. Surprise. And I lived in Milwaukee, the drinking capital of Wisconsin and maybe the rest of America. And I can say this now because I'm very old. I was 18 or 19 at the bar with my fake
Hmm.
ID. And my ballet student walked up to me and I went, "Oh, fuck, please don't tell on me." And she went, "Oh, no, I was wondering if you want to like try out for my burlesque troupe." And I went, "Burlesque? What is that? That doesn't exist. You're just talking about stripping." And she's like, "Yes and no. Come see a show, check it out, and see what you feel about it." And that was the Valentine of the Bruce City Bombshells. And I went to their show. It was a marriage show between the Bruce City Bombshells and the Milltown Kings. So it was like this great collab. And I was like, oh, I can fucking do that. Hell yeah. And I went home to my mom and I was like, "Hey, mom, I'm gonna audition for a burlesque troupe." And she got hopped on board. We went to the sex shop, got some pasties, threw my act together from a costume that I took from high school. And
Wow.
had my mom go to audition with me, auditioned in the attic with Raven McCaw and V Valentine, and just felt like it was absolutely right, especially
Mm,
because I've been anti-clothes and running around naked most of my life.
mm.
Um, yeah, so it just the wanting to get the clothes off and dancing at the same time just it intertwined so perfectly. Um,
What was the
and I
audition?
had, huh?
What was the audition?
I performed Black and Gold by Sam Sparrow, which I
A
had
neoclassic,
choreographed
yes.
for my high school. So it was 1 year later, and I was like, "We're gonna use this choreo."
Uh-huh. What was the response like? How did everybody seem to take you in?
It was great. Immediately, it was like, "You're in. We're gonna make this thing happen." And I think it was the next month I was doing a show and using YouTube to figure out how to do burlesque.
Hmm.
Because there wasn't education in my life at that point in time for burlesque. So I was really, pulling up a lot of things that I could find on the YouTube of the greats. And also trying to pull in the dance contemporary and like modern vibe for me still. I was very proud of like being able to be like, "This is my dance technique while I
Oh,
strip." Um which in I can't even say in the beginning. It was literally still at BurlyCon. 2 years ago, where my feedback was slow the fuck down.
Sure.
Because that is what I struggle with. Because I am used to, like, you have 1 minute of a song right now. How many moves can you get into it? Versus, like, let's draw in the audience for 8 counts while I simply
Hmm.
pet my leg. So it was interesting being very young and very spry and like move, 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 move. And very like show my technique to where I am now. And I'm like, now we can mature into it and lay it back and make the audience give it to us instead of trick, trick, trick.
It's a very different version of showing off because again, yeah, as you said, like if you only have a certain amount of time to show the judges what you're capable of, you want to hit every single line, don't you?
Yeah.
And certainly we've seen kitchen sink burlesque acts where someone is throwing every possible thing that they know how to do in it.
Uh-huh.
Um, but
Been there.
as one matures, we start like, oh no, that's this act. That's this act. That's this. Oh no, I'm saving that one for this one. Um, a lot of times when we hear about newcomers to the field that there is so much resistance, self-inflicted, but often on the outside when it comes to body or colorism or gender expression. Did you feel extraordinarily welcomed by your community? Was this a plus?
Um, I will say I have a very different experience than a lot of people in life. So I can't say that this goes for everyone, but for
Sure.
me, I was absolutely accepted
We need
into
those
the
stories
burlesque
too.
community
We need those
there.
stories too. Yeah.
I was absolutely accepted into the burlesque community in Chicago. I will say I was the only Black person at the time in the troupe in Milwaukee. And it was in a time that we weren't talking about tokenism.
Mm.
So that wasn't even a thought on my very immature young brain at that time. But I did feel like I probably reaped some benefits of that as well. I'll be honest, because I was I was getting booked, I was getting the photo shoots, it was this and that, and not realizing that it could be a little bit of like we need to make this representation show. I don't think it was ever like that, like
Right.
in a malicious way, but like that is a thing. Versus when I was in the troupe in Chicago, it was a lot more diverse. Um, and more um, professional due to the people that were in it,
Hmm.
being from arts backgrounds as well. A lot of like, Columbia College used to major in whatever this art form was, and like just a lot of talented folks
Mm.
that came together to make the collective bigger. And I just got lost in my thought. I don't even know where I was going. I was accepted.
Yeah.
um, I don't think I've really not felt accepted in burlesque spaces altogether. I feel like it is definitely more of an individual basis thing, and I've realized that a lot of that also has to do with my own internal autism anxiety. Like sometimes you're writing stories for yourself versus what's actually happening. So like you could not be having a conversation with this dressing room, and it's not because they don't like you, it's because
Right.
you're not talking to them either.
Right. 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 Well, you
um
well, you mentioned three major cities that you had worked in: Milwaukee, Chicago, Atlanta.
yep.
Um, where else have you traveled to either see, oh, that's what they're doing around here, that is sort of invigorated you to say, oh, there is a regionality when it comes to burlesque.
I have traveled to do burlesque many places. I've been over to Seattle and Portland. I've been to New York. I've done Cincinnati, Detroit. Um, a bunch of other places that I'm not mentioning right now because those were a lot really fast.
Yeah.
I will say I have only performed at a few places where there have also been like other troops.
Mm,
And I feel like that gives the community idea more
hmm
of the solidity versus when I go spaces as individual to somewhere else that is like just individuals performing together. Um, and it's kind of like we're all getting to know each other
hmm
versus touring and like going to perform with a troupe or a school and them expecting just you. I find are two very different experiences. But I will say in both genres, I notice immediately the professionalism in communication.
hmm
I notice the professionalism in punctuality.
mm
And like where what our words are with each other. Are we speaking to each other with respect? Are we putting each other on? Are we getting each other ready for what's coming up? Or are we making it all about ourselves? Are we directing the attention to us? Are we negatively maybe speaking about us or
mm
others? What's the
mhm,
environment you're creating for yourself in the performance space
mhm,
with others?
mhm,
Um,
mhm.
and I feel like you can tell what a scene is like in those moments because the conversation will shift one way or the other. Um, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. You've also talked a lot about your work as a burlesque educator and performer, but you also have the distinction of being a collaborator as well, because you are a duo on occasion as well. When did that come into play?
Honestly, it was probably, oh God. The first time Axel and I decided to perform together, I think, was for Jesus Christ Superstar.
Uh-huh.
And that was them being more of a prop. And it was very like theatrical background for both of us, but it wasn't enough for both of us. And
Mm,
I had wanted to push Axel to do more. When we had first started dating, they were mostly emceeing for the burlesque scene, but they have a background in musical theater. They have a degree in theater. And so I'm like, come on, we can do more. And so once it got started, it never stopped. It's just constant listening to music and being like, oh, this could be this act. Oh, this could be this. Oh, I found this costume. What could we make to put with it? Um, and it's very organic. It's not something that we like sit down and we're like, okay, we gotta for an hour figure out the plan of what's the next thing we're gonna do. Like usually we're road tripping for 7 hours listening to a musical theater playlist and we figure things out. But we play off of each other. And it was really great for us to start teaching together. We created a class called Masquerade Menagerie,
mhm,
which is for mask presenting individuals or those that want to do the art of the tease in a more masculine way.
mm,
And so we were co-teaching that class for a while. And I just this last semester was like, you know what? I'm teaching 15 classes. You can do this one on your own. But also, you can do this one on your own because you've got it. You've got the choreography. You've learned so much from me. Go off and do it. And like being able to watch them now do their separate piece has been really cool. Because then I can see the tools that they're using that they've learned
mm.
along the way.
Being involved with somebody who is also within the same industry is a very specific um, ability that not all of us can maintain. I myself am married to a civilian, but I've dated within other artistically minded people, and there's no right or wrong answer. I feel like there's a reason that we're drawn to those individuals. That's why all my friends are theatrically minded.
Uh-huh.
And that's also why I am attracted to uh, that aesthetic, that type, that mindset, that sort of I live for the applause kind of way. How do the two of you balance or manage that sort of show people dichotomy? Is there a separation between church and state when it comes to this is us as a couple, this is us as as colleagues? How do you know the sway while you're working together, how that manages?
I feel like, ooh, this is something I've never had to address or think about. I feel like because of the structure we've kind of created within ourselves of throwing out ideas together, they take the more artistic director lead. I take more of the choreographer lead. We like really respect each other in those
Hmm.
ways. We're not afraid to like share our ideas with each other.
Hmm.
And I will say, prove ourselves at times. I like a good challenge. And so when my wife is like, I can't imagine that, I'm like, let me put on a show for you real quick. Show you how it happens. Um, I feel like we've also done a really good job not trying to create characters for ourselves in
Hmm.
the Estelles. We really believe in who we are. We are being very authentic.
Hmm.
And so it doesn't feel like there is a big contrast between who we are in normal life and who we are as the Estelles performing.
Hmm.
Um, and that was a very conscious decision. There was one act that I did that I was so excited to do that it was a cannibal act where I ate
Oh,
um,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
partner who told me to make them a sandwich. And it was like toxic man, woman revenge, right? And
Hmm.
they loved it. They loved that act. And I went, I didn't like doing that. That's not who we are. That's not what I want to portray. That's not our relationship. And so from that
I
moment,
see.
we've continued forward, specifically trying to build acts that represent who we are and not
Is
just
that
characteristics
the
of
more
other
romantic, loving, non-toxic?
silly,
Yeah,
all of those things.
yeah. Well, you also have the unexpected, and you didn't ask for it, quote, responsibility as artists on stage to deal with the optics, as you also are a interracial couple. And
Mhm.
suddenly, a lot of things are also going to have different weight associated with them, associated with that activity. We see this in acts where there is a dominance and a submission. How does one do that without making the audience think that you're trying to illustrate something in particular? How do we do that without adding on unnecessary uh I don't know how else I'm trying to think of how I would express this. Uh Without an agenda. Uh or with an agenda, with an actual like planned. I think agendas are important actually, but with a concentrated effort to say this is not necessarily, and you illustrated this a bit with the cannibal element of this is theater, this is art, this is just a piece, this is not meant to be representational, this is not endorsement of an activity. But when you deal with a lot of this sort of baggage, particularly in this world, um how do you work on that, or is it even a concern?
I feel like what I have learned, I've learned a lot in my years, but I've learned a lot under Lulu Roulette's tutelage. And part of the storytelling burlesque class that or workshop she teaches for our academy really goes into a part of storytelling your story. And I think that is part of when I changed my idea of how I build my acts out, is I am telling my stories through my acts. Even if I'm creating some type of a character that I'm doing for the 50s or whatever, it's still going to be a story that is tied to me. I'm not going to tell a story that is someone else's. So like for my senior thesis, or not senior, I didn't graduate. I didn't go to senior year. It was sophomore. Okay, so for my sophomore thesis, I did an act that was about drug addiction, and specifically about addiction to pills and about my mental health at the time. It was my story. It was very personal to me. I feel like I absolutely could create a burlesque act about that and be okay with doing it, even though right now I'm not addicted to pills and struggling with my mental health. It is still a part of my story. However, I don't feel like I want to tell a story that is not mine anymore. Like I have at one point in time done an act about Hector Lavoe and his wife and a cocaine addiction and salsa music. I'm not Latina. I'm not. I wish I could have claimed any of it because I would be a salsarina. But I was very inspired by the Hector Lavoe movie and the history there, and through thinking I was appreciating it, got away with it in that era of burlesque. But I look back at that from like 10 years ago, and I'm like, oh, I wouldn't do that now. That's not my story. And even if it was in a drug way, my story, culturally, it wasn't my story. So why did I feel necessary to tell it?
Hi, I'm Jen Ponton.
And I'm Lillian Bustle.
And we're the hosts of All the Fucks,
a podcast about vulnerability.
But it's more than just that. It's nostalgia.
It's unrequited crushes.
It's the mortifying moments that make you want to crawl back inside your own belly button.
Ooh, and somehow it's sometimes about pelicans.
A pelican allegory, if you will.
Oh, I will.
So if your heart has ever felt like a skinned knee,
oh, you'll fit right in as one of our fuck buddies.
All the Fucks. A storytelling podcast wherever you listen.
Tonight on Murder, She Wrote.
Hooray!
Hey.
Yeah.
It's kind of Piper Laurie and Brenda Vaccaro, but a love child.
Thank goodness.
I want to know her.
Nails. Yeah, where's her series? That's what
She's
I want.
fabulous.
The son is Joaquin Phoenix.
I know, isn't that nuts? And he is an ugly little kid. I'm sorry.
We're just like, hey, remember when this guy was in this obscure Broadway show in 1976?
Right? Look at him in those tight pants. Yum.
Well, because there's not
But
a
we
lot
do
really
get-
going on. It's supposed I mean, unless you're listening to the dialogue, which frankly, audience at home, you can do without us. We're just learning
do your own
about
work,
some of these
damn it.
backstory. But
Right.
Boswell put her up to it.
Yeah.
And then Trish had to be killed because she realized that Boswell didn't have her interests at heart because Teddy was the inheritor.
Yeah.
Playing her like a fiddle.
Oswald knew it, and Trish just gulped it down like one of those martinis.
And then tossed it onto the lawn.
And then lost her head. Poor Trish.
Trish loses her head. This is Victor Devon.
And this is Petra Fried
And this is Tonight.
on Murder, She Wrote.
Yeah.
Why do we? I mean, that is the discussion, isn't it? This comes up a lot when it comes to actors taking on roles that may or may not be appropriate for them. And they're for a lot of us, and I'm creating straw men here, but they're accurate straw men. There are some of us that we are very clear on that a lot of us will be like, well, you're not black, you shouldn't play that role. Oh, well, you're not trans, maybe you shouldn't play that role. But there still is discussion on that in terms of acceptability. And everyone has different limits. Everyone has different perspectives on what they are bothered by, or what they feel appropriate. And the concept of it's just acting. That's what acting is, that sort of defense. And yeah, it is, but it's also not a masquerade party. And
Yeah.
I treat film, to a lesser extent theater, but film specifically, to a different standard, because film, talking about lasting forever, that films become history, become how we view things, become our sort of the shorthand in our brains for how things were. If somebody talks about the Civil War and their only viewpoint is Gone with the Wind, well, then they're going to imagine Hattie McDaniel and Vivian Leigh because that's what's in their head. That's what
Mm-hmm.
those pictures are. If somebody's talking about the 1920s and their only view of the 1920s is what MGM did in the 1950s, well, that's going to give them that shorthand. Um, and that's very true, I find, in biopics that just create bullshit. Um, I find that very frustrating. Um, Particularly when the real story is so much more interesting. Like when
Mm.
you read the Wikipedia page, you're like, they didn't include that at all. But that's actually what's interesting, not this fake relation, not this fake boyfriend that they created.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I also understand um a lot of that is based on studio meddling, and a lot of that is also based on the cultural mores of the world. There is a reason that the quote unquote Cole Porter story has him in love with a woman in that era, because that's what they had to do. And he probably
Mm-hmm.
was in love with that woman. He just also slept with a lot of men. Uh, but when we get to live theater and we get to burlesque specifically, which I still view as a theatrical art,
Mm-hmm.
it has all of the same conventions, with a few added ones. It still has your spectacle, still has your costume, still has your storyline, your plot device, your characterization. Um, Taking on roles and using them as metaphor sometimes can be complicated, and we don't have like little blurbs or subtitles that explain why we made those choices. So a lot of times we have to, for lack of a better expression, dumb it down or expand on it so that the audience isn't wondering the whole time, well, why did they do that?
Yeah.
Did that mean something? Does that mean so? So we have to sort of hit it over the head with a really obvious metaphor, sort of
Yeah.
lose some of that.
That's the
What is,
interesting
yeah,
part of burlesque when it comes to performance art. Because I find that for burlesque specifically, we do dumb it down for audiences. We are very like story driven and
by the way,
understand,
here's the flag.
right? But like as a dancer, technique wise background, I know that there was so much that my choreographers put into shit, but by no means did the audience understand what the fuck we were doing. And they sat
Mm.
there and they watched the piece for 20 fucking minutes. And I'm just like, it's interesting that we feel like we need to cater to our audiences in a specific way. Like that is the how to of burlesque, and
Mm.
I don't think we necessarily, I think that a lot of times storylines aren't necessary. um I think it is having a thorough beginning, middle, and end, and understanding what those are to you. What is your arc? How are you getting to your climax? um Dang, I just keep getting lost in my thoughts.
No, it's quite. You're referring
Oh,
to, yeah.
but yes, I will say a good amount of my personal burlesque is that I do solo is very like in my head. And I don't expect people to be like, oh, I understood exactly what that was. And I'm okay with that. They enjoyed it. They tipped me. They got the experience. And I felt okay doing it the way I wanted and not necessarily dumbing it down enough that the audience could be like, oh, you're a demon. And now you're sad. And now you're an angel. Like, but a dark angel. Like,
Oh,
right.
you've
Come
been
for the
through it.
ride.
You've been through things.
Come for the ride, enjoy the artistry of it is how I feel about it. Sometimes. Not
Yeah.
always. Stories have their place.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think, well, it can get to pandering, and it can get to, I mean, we've all had it. I mean, all of us as burlesque performers, we have the act where we write words on, like, write slurs on our bodies that we're reclaiming, or that we are, little baby performance art piece,
Yeah.
and the
Or
audience
you
goes
have a
wild.
cardboard sign with words on it.
And then of course, then the struggle is, how do we convey that without those words on them? And that's hard, particularly when a lot of burlesque has that 4 minute limit. It's different when it's a different, if it's our shows, but a lot of times if we're also gigging, if we're trying to get work outside of our little our own, we're dealing with the expectations and the restrictions that those other production companies are placing. And that's within their right. It absolutely is in their right. And I know also for a lot of people, time constraints are economical because they want to make sure that everyone has a reasonable same amount of time on stage. There's usually something after or a curfew that they have to contend with. And they're also making sure you stay a little focused, that you don't just meander for 7.5 minutes when it could have been a tight three. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
But that also, that's not nurturing art. That is a professional production, that you're working within those constraints, and one has to respect that or not take those gigs,
Yeah.
in my view. And that's hard because you're also dealing with somebody else's vision. Um, and when White Elephant was a more regular production company where we did live shows, as a director, I had my vision, and I was working with a lot of performers to say, okay, I need a Rapunzel. We're doing a fairy tale theater show. I need a Rapunzel. And if that performer, I trusted them to say, you know what, pick a song, pick a thing, do it on your own. I know that was going to be a different circumstance than if I was working with somebody. I said, okay, so I need this story. This is how I need this story to be told. What can you work with around that? And some performers are going to be more inclined to take that assignment than others, because sometimes it is so personal, an art form, burlesque specifically, but dance, where they can't be choreographed. They need their own bits to make it work.
Mm-hmm.
I think sometimes, as if you're working with people to show themselves how authentic and bring themselves out, you still have to, don't you feel that you still have to sort of edit them with themselves? How do you tell somebody you're expressing yourself inarticulately, or in not to the best of your abilities, when it is so personal?
Peer review.
Mm,
Peer review. Big fan of it. Big fan of being able to open yourself up to that raw feedback, ask the questions that you need answers, but also hear the observations that you didn't know that you needed.
mhm,
I feel like it's one of my absolute favorite things that people are constantly creating art around me, and they're constantly like, hey, can I get your opinion on this? And they may take it, they may not. I don't catch up with it until it's on stage, and then I go, oh, I see what they did. That's amazing. And I don't take anything personally, whether they use my idea or not, right? But like, it's hard to see outside of ourselves in burlesque. And a lot of times if we're lucky enough to practice in front of a mirror, we are practicing for ourselves in that mirror, and we are just seeing that. And us looking at ourselves is not the same as other people looking at us. All the perspectives are different. The feeling is different. So having those conversations with people to really understand how they see what is happening on stage with you and how you're portraying things is extremely helpful. And usually you walk out of it with more ideas. You're like, maybe some of those are for a different act.
Do you take criticism well?
I do. I have been getting critiques for good amounts of my life, and I have learned how to take it in and listen, and then I don't sit with it for a while, give it a break, and then I come back to it and sit with it with, like, if I had note cards or like physical feedback forms or things to read. I like to like take a little break, get everyone's opinions first, settle, go back to it, then start to get into how I want to apply it to myself, because not you can't necessarily go with the first thing someone says and be like, and I understand it. You have to make it work for what you're working on in your heart, in your mind, with the music. And it could be just a little piece of what that person said. Someone could have been like, oh, you should do this long, slow drag down your leg and then go up to your top and ta-da. And instead you're like, okay, I'm not going to go up to my top then, but I am going to do this long leg drag. And then I'm going to fake them out with the top. So just hearing and like trying things, putting them in different places, but also giving yourself space for grace. Not being like, oh, I got all this feedback because I did things wrong. You didn't do anything wrong. You put yourself out there in a raw way to get feedback. And I think it's really hard for people sometimes to feel like feedback is not people speaking negatively about them or dumping on what they just did.
Yeah.
It is literally them being like, I see the value you have. Let me help bring the idea that you want to for fruition. Let's clean it up.
Well, it's difficult because again, since it is so raw and it is so personal, a lot of us do take criticism very deeply. And that's the funny thing. Criticism, the word we have now made to be a negative, like, oh, they gave me criticism. It's not inherently a negative. It's actually a very well-rounded evaluation. So to call somebody to say you criticize someone, we've now made a bad thing, but it doesn't actually have to be. But I mean, that's how the English language works, and so we fucked it up for everybody. So now if we criticize someone, yeah, we are saying something negative.
You're a critic.
But you also have to pay attention to who is giving you that criticism, who is giving you, and what their perspective is. As someone who I don't struggle with it. I'm actually very comfortable saying that I don't really want your opinion on a lot of what I do. The cosmic you, not you. I'm not looking for a lot of that feedback. Typically, unless I'm in a very specific circumstance. I am not for whom going backstage, someone coming up to me and saying, this is what I would have done differently, where that is appreciated. I am not someone who appreciates that. If y'all are, great. Do you?
I will say that's something I've had to work with myself on, because I'm the type of person that I want to grow people. So I will have that in me that I want to go backstage and be like, oh my God, that was amazing. Next time, add this one thing. But I've learned that from me getting things like that as well, no one's in the fucking place right then to take in your critique or feedback.
You're gonna
Because
cut those
you
sales.
just
Yeah.
performed. Please let me get my breaths in and maybe have a drink of water and get a drink
Yeah.
altogether. And then
Yeah.
maybe we can have a conversation. But yeah, no, it definitely, especially if it's going to be negative, quote unquote, feedback, that is not something that you give right after someone performs. But also, you shouldn't be giving feedback without consent.
Mm.
Like,
Mm-hmm.
people need to be in a place for that. And I feel like when people are just like, hey, I would have done this, that could be not helpful. That could be catty behavior. That could come from a feeling of malice.
It comes to be completely irrelevant.
That too.
You're like, oh, I would have done this. That's great. That's not my story.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Which then you might adjust and say, oh, okay, then I need to make that a little clearer on my part that that's not my story. But that's not the time. It's just really, and going right before you go out is also not the time. If you can't sell, oh, there's a code of ethics. I forget what it's called. If you can fix it in 5 minutes, then tell them or something like that. Um, but if you can't, well, then it's done. Uh, it's yeah, and also it's so funny. Like we don't live in the moment as burlesquers. A lot of times we do suddenly say, "So this is how I would fix it for the future." Can't we just live in the second? Like we just did it. We're always sort of looking for the next time that it gets done or the
Yeah.
next time. A lot of times people will wait till they get into a festival before they quote upgrade their costumes.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that act was good enough to get in as is. Why do we feel compelled to say, well, then I need to add more sparkle, or then I need to change my feathers? Which isn't wrong if you feel that that's the truth. Why are we still auditioning once we got the gig? These are just the things that I've noticed in my 20 years. I feel that a lot of times we're still always in motion. We're constantly looking at the next thing or and I fall into it. If I look at my Google Calendar and I don't see a show on the books coming up, I don't know who I am.
I
I don't.
am glad that I'm currently out of that era, but it's because I'm focused on teaching. But yeah, I feel that we have, as performers, our worth is a lot on the stage.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I will say it's great when we do use those acts more than once, but how many
Mm-hmm.
times are there one-hit wonders? Um, right? Yeah.
Sometimes the one hit wonders hit and they
Oh,
become signatures, which is
they
fascinating.
They absolutely can. And I'm not against one hit wonders. It's how you get your creative artism out when you're
Yeah,
like going through something or you have the spice for it, or it's just the right show. It's the right
right.
theme and you really are
Yeah,
excited. Um, but when talking about feedback, like those one hit wonders are not something that I want to get feedback on, right? It's the
sure.
things that I want to pour into that you want feedback on.
The
Not saying
signature
that you can't
pieces.
get feedback on something that can help you and be applied elsewhere, but we're still not doing that right after someone performs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, that actually interestingly ties back to a lot of what we were discussing at the near the top of our conversation when it came to offering our insight into our industry online and a lot of things like that. A lot of that is feedback that was not solicited per se. Um, and a lot of that is condemnation or critique that someone did not know they were signing up for when they, showed their butt. Like they didn't necessarily expect that they were saying something stupid or indelicate. I'll be kinder. Or that needed to be explained a lot more thoroughly.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes that also is I don't necessarily have a qualm against vague booking, Um, but I think it needs to be done artfully. I think it still needs to be clever, it needs to be smart, and it has to sort of give me a little fortune cookie moment, even if I don't know what the hell you're talking about because I don't live there. I need it to feel when I vague book, I try to make it clever. I
I
want
would
it to seem
appreciate
like a what do you call it? Not a parable, a
it sounds like you're making a Bridgerton article.
it to be, I want it to seem like a little adage. Just make it, just 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 something for just something to think about. Just something to think about. And if you know,
Yeah.
you know. If you know, you know. And if you don't know, you don't know.
I will
But
say the vague booking is in this era with also the politics so difficult because I'm just constantly going to Google to figure out what people are vague booking to
oh,
see
sure.
is this burlesque or is this real life.
This is just fantasy. I know. It's well, and because again, because I feel because we do feel so insecure in our world, in our
Mhm.
country, that we do get on our soapboxes. We do get really cranky and really self-righteous, because it's something that we feel that we can control.
Mhm.
How important it is sometimes is a little bit more. I mean, it's hard to say because a lot of these really are built on injustice. They're microaggressions and but they're aggressive all the same.
Mhm.
So if we're talking about race or sexuality or gender identity and people are being assholes about it, it's hard not to take that personally because we see the ricochet of that if it goes unchallenged, where else it can go. It's not just a joke. It's not just a gaffe
Mhm.
or a misstep. Those have that has those have legs that can go really, and they often are indicative of other stuff. I don't know. It's really hard to not really feel personal when we see injustice in our world. We've
Yeah.
always seen it, but now it's just I don't know. We've never had technology intersecting at this point where we get to address it in the same way.
Yeah, in very like real time.
Yeah, yeah. It's scary. How, when not in your dancing shoes, do you fill your cup? What else turns you on? What else gets you through the life?
Baths.
Baths.
I love a good.
Tell me about your perfect bath.
So I have a bath ritual where I have my very long bath pillow and my short just head bath pillow and I set that up, get the water going, put my tray across, set
Oh,
up my iPad so I can watch something, get my candles going, put in some Epsom salt with argan oil, a little tiny bit of bubble bath, but not if I'm using my wife for Christmas got me the best gift ever. It makes your tub into a jacuzzi tub.
no shit. How?
Yes, it's a
Is it?
mat and it makes the bubbles come out of it like a jacuzzi tub. Don't use it with bubbles.
Oh, sure, sure, sure,
I
sure.
learned that the very hard way and had to be scooping things out off the floor back into the tub. Um, and I'm there for a good 2 to 6 hours. I will work from the tub if I have my laptop in
How
the
do you
cane.
keep it hot? I'm not
Um,
someone for whom a tepid tub works, but maybe you are.
I usually go in very hot, and
Okay.
then I would say probably like once an hour I add more hot water back in.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Just use my foot to get the handle going. Yeah.
Ah, hot baths.
But
Very
yeah, baths are
nice.
definitely my number one. The newest thing in my life that has become a cozy calm down addiction is video gaming.
Hmm.
I we started doing Stardew Valley like a year and a half ago or something, and that was how I got into video gaming. And I was like, okay, I can do this. And like here I am now playing Call of Duty Nazi zombies. And like I get home from work, I'm like, let me kill some people. So yeah, that's my newest addiction of like just do some stuff. A lot of the puzzles. The puzzles are fun. In video games, not physical ones. I have not been doing table puzzles. Crafting. I love the era of crafting that I'm in. It took me 13 years in burlesque to get here. I was very lucky when I was in Chicago having someone I traded choreography for costuming for, and that went very far. And then I went back to like my simplified burlesque, and then I was like, okay, my students are coming up, I gotta come up too. And here I am, like rhinestoning the fuck out of things, just putting things together, not following any instructions because I don't like them. I just like doing things the way I feel like I intuitively want to do them. So that's my new that's another new hobby.
Nice.
That I feel like isn't necessarily me doing burlesque work because I'm usually not creating something for something. I'm usually creating from a spot of inspiration of just crafting, and then I've been making things for it afterwards. Or I've even been selling some things because I'm just like, I just felt like bedazzling.
I see. So, what is the medium then? Are you gluing? Are you?
So I've been it was the rhinestone and gluing that got me into it. But I just like created a pearl cage to glove system that's like very Vegas showgirl vibe. I took a pin out of the good old drag queen book with the wrapping your head with saran wrap to make a headpiece. I just did that the other day. I've done some prop building with false faux wisteria and like some floral arrangement things, making them into like flow arts props and things. Just seeing how I can use things in different ways that I have around.
Nice. Before I let you go, and I thank you for being so generous with your time, um, as we are in the midst of February and we have so much left of the year to go, is there anything that is coming up specifically that you are particularly jazzed about besides the Creative Arts Studio and the Academy coming to full fruition?
That's like the main thing on my list for this year.
I getcha.
But I will say out of that, I'm excited for the 2 fundraiser events that I'm going to be putting on for that.
Nice.
We'll debut them right here. So the first one is going to be Through the Looking Glass, showing how it is going to be a very similar programming, a very keeping the same heart, a similar mission, but also a little different on the other side. And that's going to be in our space at Metropolitan Studios. And then our kickoff party that's going to happen at Creator Space is going to be down the rabbit hole. You've already been through the looking glass. Now come down the rabbit hole with us. And so I've been on an Alice in Wonderland theme for about a year now. So I'm excited to be getting it out of my system. My wife and I had choreographed a whole Mad Hatter and March Hare thing. So we're down that hole. And so
I'm assuming you're the hare.
No, I'm the Mad Hatter.
I love it.
Yes.
Flip the switch. Yes.
Yeah. So I'm excited for those events amongst all of the back end business planning and things I have to do for just getting the company up and running.
Right. My goodness.
Yeah. Other than that, I would say I am excited for everything's about Atlanta Creative Arts and Atlanta Burlesque Academy right now. I'll be honest, it's been something that has been in the works for months, and like just last week we were able to go public about it. So talking about it today has been unreal for me because I've been so quiet about it for so long. And I'm like, oh my God, it's public now. We're saying things. So yeah, that's where my excitement is.
Yeah. Well, I love it. I'm very excited for you. New ventures, new creative adventures are always good. And as someone who provides stages to other people, I have a great deal of respect and a great deal of appreciation for. So thank you for teaching the young because they are
Yes.
our future, whether we like it or not.
And thank you
Uh,
for cataloging our history in real time.
yeah, so it's frankly one of my favorite things. So thank you for that. Before I bid you adieu, can you tell the folks at home the ways that they can keep in touch with all of your doings? You have probably have a lot of links. So
Yeah. I would say if you're looking to do things in the metropolitan era through June, Zara at metrostudioseav.com. If you're looking for things upcoming with Atlantic Creative Arts, it's going to be info at atlanticcreativearts.com. I'm also on Instagram under the Zara Estelle. And I'm on Facebook as Zara Estelle, and those are the only social medias I actually will use. So we're gonna nab it there. You have those 4 options and plenty of ways to get into contact with me. I will say my absolute favorite is email though, because it creates a very nice thread I can favorite.
yes, and it's private. You don't have to make it
That's
available. You don't have to
true.
showboat for everybody. Um, where does our Estelle the name come from?
Um, so I was doing name searches with baby books when I decided to come up with my name because I wanted it to have meaning and be
Mm,
something I could use as a stage name in general, not just in the burlesque scene. So Zara means radiant and Estelle means star.
Radiant Star.
And I wanted to put my self-worth into my name and manifest and affirm that for myself.
Fabulous. Fabulous. Well, I expect that you shall thrive and you shall bloom and the world shall be fabulous. I did love visiting Atlanta. I have a sibling there that I was able to stay with when I did Kiss My Grits. I'm very curious about how the Atlanta scene continues, as it is a place I can come back to. I'll be back. I'll go back. I'll
Yes, the
go.
Atlanta scene's going nowhere. Things are just simply changing up a little bit.
You know, when has it not been? When has the when has anything not
Yeah.
But thank you so much for spending some time with me. Be well. Have a fabulous rest of your day, evening, week, month, and 2026.
Yes,
And give my hellos to your significant.
I will do. And you have a great day as well, and much love.
Mwah. Thank you so
Mwah.
much. WeBurlesque the podcast, created, developed, and edited by Viktor Devon. Podcast artwork by Logan Laveau. WeBurlesque the podcast cover art photography by Atticus Stevenson. Theme song, On a 45 by This Way to the Egress, used with permission. All incidental music via Pixabay under the expectation of fair use. Please visit WeBurlesquePodcast.com for notes on this and every other episode. Follow WeBurlesque and Viktor Devon on just about every platform, and support the podcast via patreon.com/WeBurlesque. Don't got the cash? Please follow, subscribe, and give 5 stars on every platform you can get your hands on. It really does help. All original material is owned by Viktor Devon and White Elephant Burlesque Corporation. All other materials property of their respective copyright. No infringement, while likely, is intended. This episode and all episodes thereafter are in memory of Lucky Charming. Miss you, friend. Mm-mm-mm. And that's it.
Woohoo!